Yeah, guys, we're going to start with their big addition, obviously, the offseason and the rotation with Garrett Crochet. And you look at the projected group that they have going into next season. They really have three high upside pieces in Crochet, Walker Buehler, and then you see on the bottom there, Lucas Giolito. Easy to forget that he's still with the team, returning from Tommy John surgery. Crochet adds much-needed strikeout punch, led the majors in strikeouts per nine. Buehler, obviously, he's not been himself the last couple of years, but you think about the playoffs, his last three appearances, 10 scoreless innings in those three outings. And Giolito, 3 straight years as a Cy Young ballot candidate from 2019 to 2021. Can he get back to that level? And the other three guys, it's just a matter of consistency. Houck and Crawford were great in the first half, struggled. In the second half, Bayo, the opposite. So I like the group if they can get some health from Buehler and Giolito. Now you think about who's leaving the rotation and moving back to the bullpen. How about Garrett Whitlock? You guys remember how effective he was when he came up back in 2021? 46 appearances, but 73 and a third innings. He had the most 4-out appearances of any reliever in the game that year. He'll go back to the bullpen, had the internal brace surgery last season. We'll see if he can come back healthy and be in that role. Now you think at the back of the bullpen, guys, a couple guys getting up there in age. They'll turn 36 and 37 respectively next month. But certainly some good track records here from Chapman and Liam Hendricks as they'll pair in the 8th and 9th inning there in the bullpen. Hendricks missed all of last year, pitched just 5 games in 2023. Chapman's been durable, maybe not quite what he was at one point in time, but still struck out almost 40% of the batters he faced last season. Now going over to the lineup, guys, obviously the standout from last year, Jarren Duran. You take a look at this comparison. These are the only players in the history of the game with 20 homers, 10 triples, 40 doubles, and 30 steals. Now, obviously a little bit wonky when you get that many qualifiers on a board, but still very good company to be keeping with the $300 man in Bobby Witt Jr. Now, Harold, you've talked a lot this offseason, and we touched on it in the A block with Bregman and a potential position change. I know you've been a proponent of how good Bregman could be at second base and also not moving Devers off of third base, kind of the same conversation we had with Alvarez earlier. How about the fit there in Boston if he ends up playing second base and the comp to a similarly sized second baseman of years past in Boston? Pretty similar how they were through age 30 here in the comparison. And then landing, guys, 3 prospects that we could see this year. Boston has 3 of the top 12 prospects in the game, all of them knocking on the door of the major leagues. Very exciting players here. Christian Campbell came out of nowhere last year to be the minor league hitter of the year. Roman Anthony, the top position playing prospect in the game, behind Roki Sasaki, and Marcelo Mayer, probably the highest profile of all of them, as the former number 4 overall pick in the draft. So plenty to be excited about with the Red Sox this year, guys. Do we think they get back to the postseason for the first time since 2021?
You go first.
I think they do. You know, they really made a great run last year. The one thing they do, I think, and this is a lot of credit to Alex, how he runs his ship, he's always thinking they're going to win. And he always seems to put them in a position every night to win the game that night. And, you know, he'll throw everything out there to win that one game. And that's how you get back. I think they will.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He does. He doesn't ever yield to a rebuild phase. He's uber competitive. I think the Red Sox do as well. And we said this at the beginning of the offseason this year, Keith, as you'll recall. We said it a lot. Felt like they held the key to the whole offseason, not only in the division, but to the rest of the market. They've done some nice things. They were better than advertised last year, and I think that'll be the case this year, too, because everybody always yields the top of the division to the Yankees. At least they do now, and for obvious reasons. They've spent a ton of money, and they've made themselves a lot better. Baltimore's as vulnerable as they've been in a couple of years. I think the Blue Jays are still hard to put a finger on as far as how competitive they'll be. And the Rays are in a rebuild.
Be more competitive, so you won't get all those teams that ran in there last year.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to knock each other off by being more competitive. I do say this, Keith. 2 things that came to mind when you're talking about their pitching. They used a lot of breaking pitches at the beginning of the year last year, right? So I want to see what adjustments they make, because hitters catch up to that as the season goes on. It works early, but they didn't make the adjustment as the season went on. So I think that's going to be interesting. And then I wrote down Marcel Meyer, because this kid is a stud. And I was surprised last year with the moves they made that they didn't call him up. And I know he might have had an injury, but this kid's going to be a big-time player.
And you could say the same exact thing about Christian Campbell. Like, they're loaded with guys that are ready to contribute. We're not talking about their prospects being an A-ball in extended spring. They're ready to roll.